joining me. Their names rhyme, so if I mix them up, I'm telling you right now. We have Rochelle, Shearlds, joining us. Director from Medrio. We'll learn about each lady as they share. And Shaque'l Wilson. I'm a twin, so this mixing up stuff really isn't fair, but it's what it is. All right. So we are going to have some real talk. We'll each share a little bit about ourselves and our journeys. I'm going to make some assumptions that we're all aspiring sellers, so we've probably done a little bit of research already on this little thing called LinkedIn, maybe. So we won't spend too much time on what you can already see, but I do think there's oftentimes things that seem like secrets or like aha moments. So we're going to take some time to go a little bit deeper and to just hear the real. All right? Cool. So I am going to ask, we'll start with Shelly, just to share a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your journey, because they probably already saw on LinkedIn, but like what along the journey would you say has like been the most pivotal and helped you to get to where you are?
Yeah, hi everyone. Very excited to be here and share my experience with you all. So currently I am the Senior Director of Account Management with an organization called Medrio. Medrio is an e-clinical technology platform, but more importantly, I am the head of partnerships at Success in Black. Success in Black's very similar to SIS. It's like a little baby SIS in the moment. But we are a community focused on equipping and empowering Black professionals in customer success and related roles. So to answer your question, how did I get here? Very, very non-linear path to my sales career, current sales career. So I would say for the most part, 80% of my career is rooted in post-sale success, right? So relationship management, some project management, program management, and more recently, within the last 5-6 years, customer success and now account management. So I have had all the jobs. And I think the key thing that I try to just embark on folks who I have conversations with about my journey and how I got to where I am is being open. So building a network of folks who not only know me, but want to speak about me in rooms when I'm not there and give me a chance. And I have been open, right? So I've mentioned project management, I've mentioned program management, relationship management, customer success, and account management. I have been open, still very much am open, but that's the number one thing that I would say is just, I thought I knew early on in my career, but I had no idea. Never thought I would be in a sales role, but here I am, loving it, and I probably will never turn back because revenue, income. But I would say just be open.
Okay. Yes, please. Yes, please. Uh-oh.
Hello, there it is. Oh my goodness, I like that. How y'all doing? Good. I like to hear that. All right, bet. So what's good? What's happening? My name is Shaque'l. I'm better known as your favorite six-figure chick, helping people break into tech, scale corporate ladder, and win six-figure paying jobs. I started off my sales journey on accident. I went to a lot of interviews, and people would be like, "Are you sure for customer service?" And people were like, "Are you sure you don't want the sales?" I was like, "No. I'm here for customer service, thank you." But I moved to Austin, and I needed to make more money, and I took a role that was gonna pay $40,000, and that was double my salary, and I was like, oh my God, this is it, I made it. I'm calling my mama, I'm flying her out, like I'm done. And I thought things were just, I don't know, I thought that was just so big, right? And it was a really big step, but from there, I just continued to grow through different roles. I eventually became an account manager in my next role, and thank goodness for my leadership being as amazing as it was, and for me putting in the dedication that I did, I got to grow into becoming the sales trainer for that company, for a startup organization, and from there, I got hired on at Google, and from there I got hired on at TikTok, until I left in February to own my own business. So it has been a transition. I think the biggest thing for me when it comes to sales, of just what that transition looked like or how I wound up here, I love Shelly's answer of being open, but I'm really vocal about what I want. And that works out in my favor a lot. I have a lot of personality, if y'all can't tell, in the like 30 seconds or so, I don't know, 60 seconds we've been here. But I have a lot of personality and I ask for what I want, and I don't continue to exist in spaces that do not provide me with what it is that I'm asking for.
All right, I know, right? Okay, so let's talk about that, because it's important to ask for what you want, and you can certainly get what you want. But I'm gonna be the one to call out. A lot of people in conversations I have, they'll reach out on LinkedIn like, oh, can we talk? And I'm like, yeah, sure, we can talk. And they are not ready.
Amen.
They want all the things. They're like, have all these ideas. Oh, I want to be in sales because that's where the money's at. Oh, I just heard I should be in tech because that's the place to be. What do you think? And what are you asking me all the questions? Like it's my job to tell them what to think. And so I'm being real because there's a lot of prep. There's so much that you can do for yourself to get you to the place where you can ask for what you want and get it. And if you don't, then make a move. So let's talk about that. Early on, they're wanting to get into sales or make a move in sales. What are some of the crucial, whether it's skills? I wouldn't say qualifications. Qualifications, that's an interesting word. But let's say skills, just preparation. What do you think? What do you mean they're hearing from folks that they're lacking? Or what do you think is the most crucial if folks are trying to break in to get to that place to be able to command what they want?
People more often than not are asking minimum wage questions instead of six-figure ones.
Talk about it.
I'm trademarking that. Do not steal it. It's going on merch. Don't worry about it.
Say it again. One more time. People in the back.
Unfortunately, more often than not, people are asking minimum wage questions instead of six-figure ones. If you want to get into the rooms that you want to be in with people who are making the six figures or get into some of these roles where you're being paid, copious amounts of money, like, cool, would you want to pay someone, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, I'm a cursor.
You can curse, listen.
Do you want to pay someone a shit ton of money to ask you a question every single day, every hour, like these small things that you're like, you couldn't try this and fail at it? And figure it out yourself. Like, what things were you doing before? And so when we get people every day that email us as a business and they're like, Shaque'l, how do I get into this thing? Or I do this, what can I do? Instead of saying, I do this, I've researched these things, I've narrowed it down to this. What do you now think is a solution? And so, unfortunately, my mother, she's a great lady, but my mom did not let me ever bring anything to her half-assed. When I moved to Austin, I told her 1 week before, because I waited until I had a job and an apartment before I said something. So I carried that into everything else that I do in life. I will come prepared. I have exhausted my options. I have done the research. What do you now suggest? What is a really good step for me to take? Because people are more likely to help people who help themselves. When you DM someone on LinkedIn or wherever it may be, this happens all the time. I have an inbox full right now. It's like, Shaque'l, what do I do? And I'm like, yo, you didn't even ask me what my favorite color was, bro. Like, you ain't offer a steak or nothing. And it's LinkedIn, right? It's networking. And so a joke that I make all the time is that if you go on my LinkedIn profile, you scroll down to my about, I list that I love music. It's like the way to like my soul. And that I love a good like Michelin star restaurant. How many people have DM'd me music or a song or an artist, anything? So you didn't even take the time, right, to go through like the content. So it's just research. Please make sure that you come prepared with your six-figure questions. Because if I say yes, if I give you 30 seconds, you're gonna waste your time asking me what job you should do. I'm a whole success story out here, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So just making sure that you're prepared is really important.
Yeah, I would, so that's, like, ownership is like the biggest thing that I try to take. It doesn't matter where you are in your career, you can always take more ownership. And so many DMs, y'all. So, and I get it because where do you start, right? If you don't know, then you're gonna start in someone's DM, but know that the person whose DM you are in, there are so many others in their DM, so how do you set yourself apart? I never forget the first hire that I made at Medrio was a result of someone coming into my DMs. And the reason why it worked for her is because she gave. She did not ask for anything. I was on a panel at the time and she's like, So excited for your session. I'm going to be in the front row cheering you on. And I was like, wow,
That's good.
right?
That's good.
And then we had dinner, and then she made the ask, right? So ownership and setting yourself apart. I mirror that for sure.
That's sales, by the way. Like what you just heard is sales. If you want to get into sales, the worst thing you can do as a seller is the first time you make contact with somebody, try to sell them on something. It is, you'll learn this over and over from an SDR to insert anything else. You can't hard pitch someone the first time that you meet them, right? That same thing works for when you're trying to make network connections. The same thing, I akin getting a job to dating all the time, but the same thing works when like you're dating. Imagine going on your first date and then being like, you gonna give me this and this and this. I'm walking away, babes. Like, I'm eating the steak, but I'm leaving you here.
I think that's so important, humility. So often as Black women or women of color, we've had to really fight for the strength and knowing of who we are. And I think once you get into places where there's so few, it can be even more of a challenge, but that preparation is something that can never be taken away. And it makes those conversations so much easier. And even once you're in sales, the preparation way, way, way before you ever do any outreach makes all the difference. So I love that.
And I just want to say one more thing that may be controversial, but I'm just going to put it out there.
Controversy, let's do it.
I think we have to go beyond social media for our learnings. TikTok is amazing, but there are so many folks, I'll just use customer success because that's my background, who transitioned into customer success thinking it was all shiny and new, and then last year happened, and then the real ones, we separated the real ones real quick, right? And so I would just say early on in your career, there are reasons why there are certain principles and best practices to certain roles, right? Because it took years and years of research. Go back to that. Definitely do TikTok, right? For some learning, but don't let that be your only source of learning.
Yeah. Before we transition to the next question, I want to spend some time with the learning, because the learning and the preparation is more than half the battle. Shaque'l mentioned earlier the difference between a six-figure question basically is what she was talking about. And so let's talk about the research and the findings and the learnings and how you actually come up with six-figure questions. I have some thoughts, but I want to toss it to you first, Shaque'l.
I love social media. My whole thing is due to TikTok. So I love social media, but it should not be your only place. But it's a great place to get started. I believe in cost-effective upskilling. I do understand that not everyone has insert X amount of dollars to go spend on whatever, and I am just, this is my controversial take. I don't believe in education as a mode of pushing you further in your career. I think that that is ass for most people. When it makes sense, it does, but when it doesn't, it really doesn't. So I believe in cost-effective upskilling, and sometimes that is going to be spaces like social media. And it's okay to take in knowledge, but go vet the knowledge that you took in. How many other people are saying that thing? If you go look up a program via Coursera or Udemy or something like that, does what they say align? Not from a following, not what following do they have, like somebody with a lot of followers, because a lot of followers doesn't mean jack shit, but like, what does their following look like? Are other people in the community or in the space that you want to be in connected with this person? Because if they are supposedly a guru or really good at XYZ, but like they only have followers and not peers, they probably aren't as good at doing their thing as they think that they are, at doing that thing. So I love leveraging social media. I love, like I said, some of those more cost-effective options, like doing certifications. A big thing that I like to remind people of is that more often than not, certifications are for you, not for the employer. There's a rare chance that a specific certification is going to, man, we gotta hire her because she had that cert from Coursera. No one has ever said that. I guarantee you. No one has ever said that. But it's for you. This is how you learn, right? This is how you get the verbiage and the knowledge that you need in order to go into your interview sounding more confident. That is a really, really big part of it. And that's how you come to people and you can show, I've done this work. Hey, Shaque'l, I'm really interested. I work with a lot of CSM folks as well. I'm really interested in getting into, CSM or project management. I saw this and this and this, and I'm, thinking about launch meetings and all of these things. I'm like, okay, cool. They've done some research. let me respond back to them because they've done a bit of the work. So just showing even that small amount, like you took a free course, is gonna really, really help you out. But yeah, I'm all for cost effective versus going for full on education if you do not, if the degree or the role does not require you to actually have that degree.
Skilling is something, or having the right skills versus the right Ivy League degree is becoming more and more commonplace, especially in tech, but in all types of skills organizations. And even LinkedIn CEO Ryan Roslansky recently, it was an interview I think with Satya, who's the CEO of Microsoft. They had a whole conversation and sat down and spoke about the fact that it's skills. It's not so much your Ivy League degree or whatever, wherever you went to college, or not for that matter. It's like having the right skills for the work. Can you all talk about that a little bit? We'll start with you, Shelly, on like the job market looks kind of funny, depending on, how you look at it. But there are companies, lots of companies that are hiring, even those that have had, and don't be fooled, just because a company has layoffs does not mean that they're not hiring. What they're doing is hiring for people with the right skills for the roles that are now available or will be available. And so I want to know, I guess, where you all see hope, in the future, the job market, or for people who are looking to get into sales. And also, what skills do you think are particularly important for the work right now?
Yeah, the job market. I'm preaching to the crowd, so we don't need to get into that. But I would say the skill that I personally lean on the most as a sales leader is my project management background. And I know that sometimes, again, just speaking for myself, when I was not in a sales role and I would interact with sales teams, a lot of it was emotion, and this is how I'm feeling about this, and that's just not how I approach my work. I value structure and process and predictability, so that is the disciplined approach to sales has proved successful in my experience. I do know that there is a lot of gray when it comes to selling, but I think if you are intentional about, again, studying, learning different methodologies, so like a challenger model, very big fan of that, but I lean on project management the most because of the process and the structure that can be applied to sometimes what feels like a very loose practice.
Yeah, and that's super valuable. I'll say when I first started selling a million years ago, I was just doing my thing. It was like, it's fun, it's an art, and I didn't have the process down at all. I didn't think of a process. I always kind of rebuked the idea of a process. It's like, I don't need that. But having been in roles of increasing levels of responsibility, and specifically more strategic, like global accounts, and many stakeholders, it's definitely an important process, an important skill to adopt. So I love that. Would you add anything different?
I think that those, like structure, some person that thrives in structure, I just suck at creating it, so I hire people that are good at it. But I think that as you get, start with your structure, right? You need your methodologies, you need to know how to do those things. But I'm a big personality girl, if y'all haven't been able to tell. I almost wore my grill in here, okay? So I personally, when it comes to sales, this is how I do my thing. I make connections with people, and people buy from me because they like me. They buy from me because they see themselves in me, right? And so I know who my ideal buyer is. So I think that's a really big part, is like who's your buyer? Who are you trying to sell to? What are you trying to do? But authenticity, I think, is a really big deal. People can smell bullshit from a mile away. So if you are trying to do something weird or just trying to connect with me in a way that doesn't actually make sense, then it doesn't work. And so when I was early on in my career, a lot of my more so like SDR work or inbound sales work was because they were like, man, I like that girl. I got my night sale today, but I'll call you 2 days from now. I'm like, what's good? You know it's me. What's happening? And it works out. So personality is not the word that I'm looking for, because you don't need to be me, right? You can be your own authentic self. Authenticity is what I want to make sure that you have when it comes to selling. You will find your buyers, and your leadership will put you with the right people. Like your leadership should not, if they are good leadership, they will know who you should be on a call with, or what accounts you should be trying to own, and what accounts absolutely would not work for you. I don't do well with like engineers. Like if somebody wanted me to sell to engineers, ain't gonna work best. I got way too much energy for them. It's not gonna go well. And then I'm gonna bring myself down and I'm gonna sound very scared and confused and this and that. So again, great leadership is going to make sure to connect you with whomever. But when you first get started out, especially, like, you will figure out your flow, you'll figure out your thing, and people will appreciate you for that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I also love that you all are so different.
Very.
You all could not be more different, and I think that's really, really important that you all take note of. I used to be way more high energy than I am now, and that was cool because that's how I was. And I remember back then I was in an organization building, a team, and folks were like, "Oh my gosh, I could never." And then I had to like talk me back down, like you don't have to, and But even coming here, LinkedIn, just over 5 years ago, I had an onboarding buddy who was so good. She's so good. I actually I co-authored a book, and half of it was about her. The chapter was called "Run Your Own Race" because I was sitting here trying to be Anna. Anna's a bad chick. Oh my God. I'm not easily intimidated, but I was like a whole mess. And she's just so good. And because I had never been in tech before, I was trying to learn it and do it her way. I was trying to like listen to exactly how Anna does it. What is Anna saying? So if you don't know what to do, it seems like the easiest thing to do is just to copy somebody. I struggled. And then it was a whole thing because I'm not used to struggling. I was like, oh my God, this just can't get any worse. But I had a good leader who pulled me aside. First I was like, oh my God, am I gonna get fired? He was like, oh my God, no, that's not gonna happen. So I was like, okay, good, now we can talk. But he said, I don't need another Anna, or I would have hired another Anna. We need you, Jheryn, for all of who you are. And as you figure that out, just know that I already saw enough. Of this whole panel of people who hired you already saw enough of who you are and who you're becoming that you don't need to try to be like Anna. I was like, well, and that's super duper important. So I love that you all are so different because anybody, you can be successful and get into sales, thriving in sales, and doing it your way. So let's take some time. I don't have my watch on today, so I need somebody to keep me honest on time. I do want to allow time for questions. Okay, perfect. So let's pause. We have 15 minutes. I want to make sure, I have more questions for our panelists, but I want to make sure you who've invested in being here get to have your questions answered. So who has questions? And don't feel pressured for it to be a six-figure question. No pressure in this
You're here
moment.
today to learn those six-figure
Right,
questions.
this is
You
a
got
safe
this.
space. We'll get back to you. There was a question in the back first.
Hi, my name is Chandra. I'm a commercial account executive at Outreach, sales execution platform. My question is, what self-discovery did you have to do in order to be comfortable with yourself to show up at work as yourself, to make sure that that environment matched who you are?
Yeah, so it takes.
Did everybody hear the question? Okay.
Yeah, so I would say it takes time. It takes time to discover, because you learn from experience, right? Again, I thought I knew who Shelly was when I was 25, but I experienced some things and learned some things about the way that I work. Some things will never change, right? So like very early on in my career, I remember having a one-on-one with the VP at the time, and he's like, you're so black and white. That has not changed. I am still black and white. It's who I am. But how do I use what in some instances is a disadvantage to an advantage, right? So, but you have to learn that. You have to get feedback. So I would say very early on in your career, if I had to tell my younger self anything, it's like, don't take yourself so seriously. And then the other thing that I would say, I'm a really big fan of the personality test, like the Clifton Strengths. And I do it like every 5 years to see if anything will change. It does, because I've become wiser, kind of. But yeah, I would say look for like Enneagram. I can literally talk about Enneagram for hours. But I would say in those self-discovery, those are some tools that I would use, but I just feel like it takes time to learn and feedback from others.
I challenge each and every last one of you to show up as your most authentic self as often as you can. That's the answer. I had a leader who allowed me space, so my name has an apostrophe in it. I did not use that apostrophe until that leader was like, how do we spell your name correctly? I came from a company who spelled my name, they called me Shaq. And when I got hired, they just made that decision. And so when I showed up to work, my email address was shaq@company.com. All of my things said Shaq on it. And that was just a decision that the CEO had made for me. And so I was like, oh, it's not that bad. I used to be called that in high school. Like, it was cool, but like, I'm an adult. Like, it's 2 syllables too. It's not that hard. But yeah, when I showed up at my next job in the company that really helped me with a lot of my growth, my leader was like, how do you want to be like addressed? What name do you want to be called? How do we, so again, I use the apostrophe not because of her. My mom had been trying to beat that into me for 20 years. And it took a lady at work to be like, no, we should call you by your name. But I just challenge you to show up. Every day I show up a little bit more authentically, and it allows for me, when I see that people accept it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so like, watch that circle. Who are your work friends, even if they're not people you cool with outside of work, but like, who are you around? Are these people that are questioning like the thing that you wore or the thing that you said, or do you have somebody saying like, I'm so proud of you for saying that in the meeting. That was like really dope. That was really helpful, right? Or I love this thing that you did the other day. Like, that really made me feel really comfortable. So what does your community look like? My community is what allowed me to feel super, super comfortable in my authenticity.
The woman in the green, I have before.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, teacher. Okay, one of the questions I typically ask people is something that I've been really grappling with the last few months. What roadblock that you've experienced so far in your journey with regards to your career are you the most grateful for?
Oh, I got one. I'm not a panelist. That's crazy. Failing and being fired. A lot of people don't know that because all they see is top 1%, top 10%, all these workshops and all this other stuff. I failed miserably at a company. And there's a lot of reasons for it. It wasn't the right company, right fit, right product, right anything. And I was pregnant when I got hired. Not that that was the reason, but things were even more challenging than they should have been. But, and I had another bad situation that I ended up leaving, and all of it made me wiser. It made me be thoughtful about the kind of company I wanted to work for, what kind of offering I wanted to sell. Like, for those of you trying to get into sales, don't just take anything. You know what I mean? Be patient. Don't be so picky, but be thoughtful, because it's not good for anybody to set yourself up for failure. Yes, you can fail and fail forward and learn, but be thoughtful about, okay, where's this industry going? I mean, how many competitors are there? What's the market fit? Am I gonna be able to sell this thing? Is anybody else able to sell this thing? You know what I mean? Because you're gonna build your foundation somewhere. But it helped me make some choices. Like, okay, I can sit here and feel like I'm scum, or remember that I know otherwise. You know, so I just thought that was really important to share. So that if anybody's had any challenges or, you know, made a misstep, just trust that, like, there could be greatness on the other side of that.
Let's do one more question, then we'll do a 10-minute break after that.
Okay? Does it, yep. Tell me your name again.
Hi, I'm Ashley.
Ashley, yes.
I'm about to graduate undergrad.
Yeah, Ashley.
So my question for you is, as a leader in your positions, what is one lesson that you've taken away from your team that has shaped the way that you lead?
Listening, and getting out of my way, tampering the ego, right? That just because I was hired for this role that I think I know everything. No, I don't. And so hiring the right people to balance my inefficiencies and letting them lead. There are so many times in the last month, I probably had maybe 5 conversations where I came into the conversation thinking that it was going to go one way with someone on my team, and they gave a perspective, and I shifted my perspective, right? Because I look at them as the experts, and so I would say listen. Like, you need to be open, you need to listen to different perspectives than your own.
Collaboration is necessary. Like, I hired them for a reason. I need to allow them to do their jobs. And everybody working together is what makes us efficient, like, an efficient team is what makes us successful. I'm so used to running things by myself. I did this entire business for 1.5 years by myself before I ever hired anybody. And so I'm also used to using it, moving at my speed. We go at my pace. So if I say something today, babes, TikTok content created tomorrow. We're launching it then. And it's like, no, we have to like work at the pace that everybody else does. And we have to collaborate on this, and other people might have ideas and things that can like make this, better. And so actually just allowing for collaboration for community, it's a great other word for it, is that like we as humans need community to like exist. And so that same thing happens within like a workspace, and every day they challenge me to be like, we work together, you don't work by yourself anymore. And I'm like, you sure?
I love that. This has been fantastic. Thank you both so much for the insight, the authenticity, the tips. We are going to take a 10-minute break. Yep, let's clap. Yay! Well, we are going to take a 10-minute break. It's so important that you all get to know each other. Certainly, I'm sure you probably want to speak to our fantastic panelists, but get to know each other as well. So that's one thing you'll find is that your peers, your colleagues are also moving up. And everybody's going to have to go on and do something great, so network and make it count.